Living a Healthy Lifestyle show with your favorite holistic health coach, Carrie Kay.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Living a Healthy Lifestyle show with your favorite holistic health coach, Carrie Kay. And today I have David Mayer on, and I've been advertising him all week. He's going to do a beautiful show today. He was in 9/11, and God had a plan for him to bring him back so he could tell his beautiful story. So, welcome to the show, David.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me. Uh,
You're
I'm sorry to
welcome.
correct it's with Dave Mahler, but I'm sorry to correct you. But
Oh,
anyway,
Dave Mahler. Okay.
every one of my teachers in school got it wrong, so that's okay. I'm used to it.
That's all right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you. And you?
Good, good, good. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
So currently I am a recovery coach and life coach. I go around giving presentations as well on substance use and breaking the stigma, and I try to get that message out as much as possible. Um, I'm involved in 12-step ministries and just trying to help people in recovery.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about your story. You've been through a lot. You've overcome a whole lot of obstacles. I read in your bio and your website and everything.
Yeah, so I worked on Wall Street 30 plus years, and I happened to be at the Trade Center for both instances. In 93, when the bomb hit, I was on the 96th floor having lunch with a client, and I had to walk down, which was kind of crazy. My whole body was full of soot by the time I got to the ground floor,
Mm.
and just lasted for hours. I took 2, 3 showers, couldn't get clean, but wasn't that trauma filled. It was just a long walk down. But during 9/11, I was on the 26th floor when the plane hit, and my whole office reacted quite well. I mean, we got up and went right to the stairwell, 400 guys. And as we're running down, those brave firemen are running up and with the backpacks on, and you're probably never going to see these guys again. And it's quite trauma filled. We got to the lobby of the building, the whole lobby was melted. And I met a police officer that I grew up with. And he said to me, cover your head when you go outside, stuff is falling. We didn't even know it was a terrorist at that point. We just thought it was a plane accident. And we got outside, and the second I got outside the building, the second plane was right over my head. And I could actually, so close, I could read the numbers on the bottom. And I was like, what do I do? How do I get away from the glass? And I ran towards the East River, and I saw a ferry going towards New Jersey. I said, let me try to get one of those ferries. But it took me back towards the building. And when I walked towards the building, I saw like people were jumping. It was quite horrific. Holding hands. I guess it was their thought process was it was better to jump than to burn, and quite trauma filled. I had going to some therapy at that time, and for marriage counseling in my first marriage, and the therapist says, I can't coach you. I'll give you therapy on marriage. You have PTSD right now. I didn't even know I had it. I still go around with some things from it, just not as prevalent. And it was just a very tough day. They'll always be with me.
You are so blessed to get out of there.
It was kind of crazy. I mean, I was on the ferry and turning around and watched the building fall down. And for years, I didn't realize it was my building got hit first, but the second building fell first. And I didn't even realize that for a couple of years. It just,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about how you overcame your drug addiction too. That's pretty amazing. God has done a lot in your life.
As far as drugs with me, they were more heavy recreational because of the job I was in. Um, than like, I wasn't that bound. I was more like part of my industry, running around with it, and I was able to stop. Um, it was more of a party thing than an addiction to me, I think.
Hmm.
And then my daughter had gotten in trouble for weed in high school, and about that time, that's all I was doing at that time. And when she got in trouble, and her mom tried to punish her, she went into my garage and went right into one of my old golf bags, pulled out a bag of weed, and said, "This is my father's. How can you punish me?" And I was pretty much crushed that day. And that was the last I ever smoked. I was just like, I can't be a hypocrite and try to tell her not to be doing things if I'm still doing it. So it actually, I was able just to stop right then. It's like, what a nightmare. Like
Wow.
I thought nobody knew, everybody knew. You know, you
And then you started your coaching business. Tell us about your Ground Zero recovery and coaching. That sounds amazing. You help a lot of people.
know. So before I started Ground Zero, a friend of mine was starting a Christian 12-step group, Celebrate Recovery, and he asked me to be one of the leaders. And I was like, all right, I'll see. And he had trainers come down and they were training us. And I didn't understand that Celebrate Recovery was for like all kinds of hurts, habits, and hangups, not just addictions. You know, people coming with everything, anxiety, bad divorce, relationships, all kinds of stuff. And after like 2, 3 training sessions, I said, this isn't for me. And I called my daughter up and I said, Dana, I said, I don't think I'm going to stay. And she said, Daddy, you have to stay. She said, someone like me is going to walk in the door that's having a problem with drugs, and you're gonna know how to talk to them. You've always dealt with me. You've been through every war with me. Someone like my mom's gonna come in, and you've had issues with her, and you're gonna know how to talk to them. So you have to stay. So I said, I got to give it another chance, and I stayed. And then the ministry leader had to leave. Then a woman took over. She had to leave. Then COVID hit, and it was either close the doors or take it over myself. And we had a big group coming, and I couldn't see these people were, growing from coming, and I didn't want to let it close. So, in God's infinite sense of humor, I became the ministry leader, and someone who thought he wasn't even going to stay. So, it's been going well. And during that time, I said, "Well, how can I reach other people?" And I started going to school to become a coach. And I became a coach like 4 or 5 years ago, and I did not know what I wanted to do with it. Still working on Wall Street. And I'm like waiting for God to tell me, what do you want? What am I supposed to do with this? And then I started coaching guys through word of mouth, and guys were coming to me, and it was going pretty well. My daughter at that time would make fun of me. Oh, Dad, you're a coach now. Like so many different things. And we decided to launch a website. And I'm a very impatient person, that A personality. I'm like, where are the clients coming from the website? But they started to come. And I've coached parents. I initially thought I was always going to coach parents, because being a parent is somebody who was using. Coach parents, I've coached, the spouse, and the people that come home from treatment, or some people that think they don't need treatment. I don't need treatment. I'll call a coach, and I'll be honest with them. If I coach you 2 or 3 sessions and I'm not enough, I'll tell you. I got to help you get into treatment, and I'll coach you when you come home. I don't just want your money for the session. I'd rather you get help, come home, and then we'll work on a healthy lifestyle. So that's how I'm handling it right now. I really care about the people I coach. I don't coach that money so that I can know everybody really personally. And I try to coach with like a boutique style. If I don't just talk to you once a week, you can text me anytime. We talk back and forth. An issue pops up. And I'll give you a little funny story. One of the guys I'm coaching, he's sober like 150 days. And he tells me, I decided I wanted to use today as a celebration of my 150 days, but I haven't used yet. So I said, well, I hope you didn't call me thinking I was going to give you like a pass and say it's okay. And he's like, well, I told my fiance, and she's never had any drug involvement. And she's like, well, I think I'm going to break up with you if you do. But he didn't care. He says, oh, that's my celebration. I'm working very hard at this. I said, well, since when do you think you can use just this once and not be off to the races again? He goes, oh, I didn't think of it that way. And we talked on the phone for like 15 minutes. And it wasn't a session, obviously, just a talk, And I said, you're using the tools of accountability right now. I said, you reached out, you called me. You called me for a reason. You called me because you probably didn't want to use. And, he didn't break his streak. He didn't use. And that was a great thing. But I was just laughing how he thought my celebration of staying clean was to use. I was like, where's the thought process come from? And he tried to justify it.
Wow.
And, you know,
So you help a
so,
lot of clients right now. That's good.
I mentioned my daughter a lot. She was a big catalyst for me being involved in this. So 9/11 hits. My daughter worked in the industry of sobriety, mental health. She was a behavioral health tech. She was a KSAC, and she was sober 7 years. And but she called me and told me that she used, and she was living in my home at that time in New Jersey, and she went to treatment. And then when she came home, I told her she had to go live at a woman's sober home, and she couldn't stay in my house. And now COVID hits, and they don't know what to do. They're like, we have 30 women living here. It was a quite big house. Some people have to go home, in quarantine. And they called me and said, we need Dana to go home to quarantine. And I was really worried. They said, Dana runs all our groups. She was in the field. She doesn't miss a meeting. They gave me some assurance, but I was still worried. And it was a Friday. She was supposed to come home Saturday. And Dana went to stay with her girlfriend for the night. And her girlfriend was not a drug user at all. And Dana never made it home. Dana used a drug that night that had fentanyl in it, and it killed her. And so I lost my daughter that night, the night before Palm Sunday in 2020. And quite crushing. I go around like I'm okay, but I'm really crushed inside. And I try to use the worst thing that ever happened to me to help other people, and that's what I'm doing with it. And I know she's always with me. She's with me when I run a group. She's with me when I coach, and I feel her, and I know she's always there.
Wow. So you're using this tragic thing that happened to you to help so many people. That is amazing. So sorry for your loss. But the coaching, it's really changed a lot for you. Tell us a little bit about what the clients that you're helping now.
Now, so like I said, they've come from not just substance abuse, which is taking me more into life coaching. Um, so my first client was a young man with a porn addiction. His fiance actually found me. And I was like, okay, God, what do you want me to do now? I wasn't ready for this. So I prayed on it, and I said, you know what, I can coach him. He's a young man. He was a believer, so it was a little easier. But he wasn't following God much. He was away from the church for a while. And I coach people. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. So I'm always going to coach with that mindset. But not everybody who comes to me is a believer. And they may not want to be coached uh, with a Christian background. If you want to come to me as a believer, I'm going to take you to scriptures as far as our coaching, besides our coaching. If you don't, we'll see if we can get there. And I'll plant seeds along the way and talk about how God affects my life. So I coached him for about 6 months, and then a couple of moms came to me. Their sons were coming home from treatment. They didn't know if they could let them back in the house again. How do I deal with this? And I always suggest that the whole household needs to heal. When somebody in the house is using, generally there's chaos out the whole house. So I always use a mindset of everybody in the house needs to get some sort of therapy, join some sort of group, some sort of accountability, that the person who's using is going to have longer sobriety if the whole house heals. and know how to deal with it better. So that's one of the things I always try to coach the families on. If you're the mom, go to Naranon, go to some sort of group, and know that you're not alone. Know that other people are walking in your shoes. I remember going to Naranon myself like 25 years ago, and I was a little embarrassed walking in the door until I sat down and heard the stories, and like so many people were just like me, and they gave me amazing tools um, that I still use today uh, about not letting people do to you whatever you let them do, and people get away with whatever you let them get away. And I'm not saying you got to be nasty or rude, but you have to set boundaries.
Mm.
And boundaries are so big in sobriety because people will constantly push the envelope, or they'll try to justify their actions. And justification is like the greatest tool of an addict, especially people that are messing with prescription medications. Oh,
Mm.
my doctor prescribed it for me. I can take that. Meanwhile, the prescription is a month's prescription. In 2.5 weeks, they're done. What happened to the doctor prescribed it? And then what happens with those people? They go out to the street and they buy something to take the place of their prescribed medication. And then they're off to the races, or they don't take anything and they get like paralyzed and they can't come out of the house. You know, I've seen that firsthand. People get stuck. Yeah.
Wow.
One thing, yeah. One thing I always try to tell people is not to isolate,
Mm.
staying at home. You go to a meeting, because, I believe in secular meetings as well as Christian 12-step meetings. I think everybody has a place, and, AA works for a lot of people. You get strong accountability, and you got to get a phone list. You have to have people to call. You need to call people. When you're in your darkest moments, if you stay home alone, you're going to be in big trouble. You know, that's why even with my people that I'm coaching, I tell them, you don't have somebody, you have me. Call me. I don't care what time it is, unless you're calling me for nonsense. If you're calling me, don't call me and say, I'm not sure what to have for lunch tomorrow. But call
Yeah.
me if you're in trouble, and say, hey, I'm thinking, the triggers are popping up. Oh, I had this urge, and I'm going to try to redirect you. And that's what the phone call is all about. How can we redirect at that moment? I may tell you to just do 10 push-ups and start thinking about something else. But it's how do we redirect from that moment of, wow, the world seems so dark right now. I can't go on. But you can go on. You just need the right person in your corner.
Amen. And I used to go to the Celebrate Recovery and things like that, and I have friends that's gone to AA. Do you believe that there's a time though when that's not something that, helps them anymore? I mean, for me, I quit drinking because the doctor said I was going to die. So
Mm.
I wasn't an alcoholic. So going to those meetings really, really, I think there's different situations, right? Isn't that true? So they kind of really, after a while, depressed me. And but I really do believe that they help the people that are getting ready to, use, and calling their coach. That's really important. But that's what I experienced with my situation, and where I had a totally different situation.
So there are some people that find out that uh, substance or alcohol could kill them, and they still do it.
Yeah.
And I think that the meetings are good. I think you need to use all the tools you can. You know, I mean, if it's going to a meeting once in a while helps you, fine. I understand sometimes the war stories sometimes depress people, but I think the meeting is like the vehicle to meet other people, to have a community of people that are in sobriety, that are like-minded. You can find some friends that don't have to go out and drink. They want to just go out for a cup of coffee, somebody to associate with. I think you got to use all the tools. I always say that. Go to your secular meetings if that's what's necessary for you. Go to your 12-step Christian meetings. Make a church service. Get connected with God too. Like I had friends that would say, if I miss a meeting, I may use. So if you're relying on just a meeting to stay clean, you're in trouble. Because what about if you can't get there? you know, and, higher power for everybody is different, For me, there's one higher power, and that's Christ, and that's where I go. But that may not be for everybody. They may not be at that place. So they have to do whatever they can to stay sober.
Amen. Well, so David, tell us a little bit about your information so we can, if anybody needs your help or your coaching, I'm also going to add that to your show today. But tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with you. We have about 4 minutes left.
Okay, so my website is groundzerorecovery.com. Of course, I named it that reason because I was in the building and I thought of maybe helping a lot of people on Wall Street one day. It's a big community of people that could have substance use. I know firsthand, I was once one of those guys. The executives. I also do substance awareness training where I'll come into the workplace and I want to train the entire Wall Street. I want to train every company, not just Wall Street, on substance use awareness and breaking the stigma. As an employee, you cannot be afraid to come forward and say, I have an issue. 70% of the people that are using today are in the workforce. 1 in 8 people at every company has some sort of substance use disorder, and alcohol being on the top of that list. So there has to be better information. So many people get fired from jobs because they didn't come forward, for all the silly, dumb things they did along the way. Oh, that guy don't come to work anymore. He doesn't show up enough. Oh, he shows up and he's not really working that well. Oh, he's got a nasty attitude, and they get fired. And then a month down the road, they find out, he was dealing with a substance use. He didn't tell anybody. Don't be afraid to come forward. Go to HR, go to management. They can't fire you for having the substance problem. They actually need to get you help. But if you keep it silent, you're going to get fired for all the things surrounding it. And, when you could have gotten help, and it could save a life. And another thing, I don't know if my time is up, but companies that get employees help, when that employee comes back to work, if things work out for them in treatment and stuff like that, they become your most loyal employee and sometimes your best employee because they know what you've done for them. They know you were behind them, and statistics show that these people also go on to long-term recovery and become great workers.
Wow. Yeah, I've actually heard that before. So, yeah, well, we have about 2 more minutes left. So whatever you feel like the Holy Spirit wants you to talk about, I think that it's amazing that you have used this experience to help other people. I love the Ground Zero recovery coaching. It's great. And it's all God inspired. He's got all of us working towards a greater goal. So what would you like to say to someone that may be struggling
Well,
right now?
if you just came home from treatment and then you went to say like an intensive outpatient, but now you need somebody to come alongside you, call me. You know, I act like a personal trainer, but through recovery. And if you think you don't need to go away, maybe you don't, and you're like an executive. Oh, how can I leave my company? How can I leave my job? Call me. Hey, that's my field. I know how to talk to people, and I'd like to try to help you.
You can throw your number out there, or we can just go to the website, whatever you'd like to do.
Oh, my number is 347-687-9766, and that's groundzerorecoverycoaching.com, and you can definitely find me.
Yeah, I read all the information on your website, and it is really awesome, David. So we really appreciate you being on Living a Healthy Lifestyle show today and telling your awesome story. And hopefully people will get help. They will come to Christ first and foremost, because we can't
Amen.
do anything without Christ that strengthens us. So
Truthfully, the 12-step recovery meetings like Celebrate Recovery, they're just a lighthouse to coming into Christ.
yeah, that's true.
That's where they're going to find their true healing.
Well, thank you so much for being on Living a Healthy Lifestyle show, David. We appreciate you so much. And in the upcoming months, we'd like to get back with you again and see what's going
Okay.
on. God
Thank you.
bless. Thank you guys for
Bye.
viewing.